Hey everyone! Today we're going to talk about 8 easy ways to pass your online class. If you're struggling to focus or just not doing as well as you'd like, I wanted to share some super simple and practical things you can do to do well in your online class, whether it's in English, science, or math, whatever subject you're taking. Here's a quick overview of all the tips I'm covering today. Before we get started, click the like button down below for good luck. Let's go! The first thing you should do is make sure your environment and workspace is set up. So before your class starts, take 5 or 10 minutes to settle in, find a quiet and isolated space with as little distraction as possible. It usually helps to have a designated space that you use for school each day. The best space is probably in your own room with the door closed, but obviously if you share your space with siblings or parents or grandparents or even pets who are working from home or doing school or wandering in and out, you can designate your own spot in the house, whether it's a corner of the kitchen, living room, basement, or whatever same spot you can go to each day for school. I know everyone's situation is different, so please just take the advice that applies to your situation and what's relevant for you. On another note, I've also found that noise canceling or noise reducing headphones work really well. Obviously, you can go for the high-tech noise canceling headphones like Bose or AirPods, but I actually use these Skull Candy earbuds, which are pretty effective in blocking out noise. At stores like TJ Maxx or Target, they're like $10. Number 2, clear your desk so it's not cluttered, and most importantly, put your phone away. I know personally that if I see a notification pop up, I'm definitely going to pick it up, and by the time I'm done texting or scrolling, the teacher's already on to another topic. The thing that works best for me is to keep it completely out of sight. Just seeing my phone on my desk is a distraction because I'm tempted to scroll through Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok. I tell myself I'm listening to the class in the background, but somehow my brain just blocks out the class, and the next thing you know, the whole thing is over. Lesson learned, just check your messages during break and treat your online lessons like an in-class lesson. Just like how you wouldn't text right in front of a teacher in an in-person class, don't do it during an online class either. I also know that Zoom and other virtual classrooms have private chat features, which make it super easy to talk to your friends during class, but just try to focus on what your teacher's saying and not have full-on side conversations over messages. Number 3, this is a quick thought, but something easy you can do is just plug in your laptop or tablet ahead of time so you're not scrambling to find a charger in the middle of a lesson if your battery dies. It's one less distraction, and it also applies to any other materials you might need during class. So if you're in math, make sure that you have a calculator within reach. If you're in English, make sure you have whatever book or reading assignment you'll need. Just be prepared for whatever class you're in. My number 1 tip for during class, or even in this video overall, is to actually attend the class live. I know there's that trick where you can record yourself and set it as your background so it looks like you're in class but you're actually somewhere else. Definitely don't do that. You won't do well if you don't attend class. Even if your classes are recorded and you tell yourself you'll watch it later, let me tell you now, you won't watch it later. What's going to happen is it'll be the night before the test and you'll be trying to watch like 6-hour-long classes before the next morning, and that's just not how learning and your brain works. It's actually a lot less effort to attend each class live, even if it's at 8 a.m. It's worth just being on with the rest of your class, asking your teacher's question during class, and staying caught up. Because you don't have to physically go to school, it's so easy to fall behind in an online class if you start skipping. So don't even give yourself that chance to develop that bad habit. It'll be really hard to change if you start getting used to skipping. My second tip for during class, you guys are now actually at an advantage because the classes are sometimes recorded. So don't focus on copying down every word, which is actually a good tip for note-taking even in an in-person class. Instead, use headers for main ideas and bullets for key concepts. You don't even have to take the time to write full sentences because it's actually too much work and your notes will look more cluttered. If you're in math class, also maybe write down an example or two for each topic. In general, if you miss something, don't worry about it. You can go back and rewatch parts of the class to fill in your notes. If your classes aren't recorded, you can also send a message to your teacher after class if you're missing or confused about a concept. If they're a good teacher, which hopefully they are, they'll be happy to help you out. Speaking of notes, if your teacher covers material super quickly, you might want to retype or rewrite your notes after class if they're really messy. The thing is, if you can't understand your notes a day later, they're kind of useless. The whole point of having notes is 1, yes, you'll remember the material better because you're actively listening. But number 2, you can also look back at them when you're studying or doing homework, which is super important. This will actually save you time when you're studying for tests and exams, which makes up a good chunk of your grade. For this tip, I know it's tedious and will take up time, but the effort you put in to have good notes is worth your time. Number 2, for assignments, you are probably getting more assignments, videos, and readings now more than ever, which is something I noticed in my online classes. When you don't have an in-person class or lecture, for some reason, teachers tend to assign more offline work, and they assign you chapters at a time to read or super long videos to watch, which actually isn't practical when you want to learn the material. Especially for math classes, it's not reading lessons that helps you understand the concepts, it's actually doing the problems. So this is where my laziness kicks in a little bit. My best tip for you is actually to not do the full reading. Just skim it and go straight to doing the practice problems. Doing the problems yourself will be 10 times more helpful than just reading about them. If you're having trouble understanding or doing the problems, that's totally fine. Just refer back to the reading for reference. In general, you're better off spending doing extra problems than reading all of the pages word by word. And finally, here's my last tip. Know what'll go into your overall grade. Take the time to read the syllabus because a lot of times it'll tell you exactly how you're graded. It's usually a mix of turning in homework, tests, and sometimes you'll get points just for attendance or participation. So an easy way to not fail is just to show up for class, which you should be doing anyways. If participation is a part of your grade, as an introvert, I absolutely hated participation points, but I would force myself to ask questions or raise my hand. Just make an effort to participate, which is probably easier now that you can participate by typing in questions to a chat window. For another example, if your day-to-day homework is worth more than exams, make sure that you make it a priority to turn in your homework every day. Sometimes only completion counts, so it doesn't even matter if you get the questions right or not. On the other hand, I once took a class where the majority of my grade came from quizzes and tests, so for that class, I would just try to focus on figuring out the types of problems my teacher would write and being able to solve them. Alright, those are my tips for now. Let me know in the comments how all of your online classes are going, what you like, what you don't like. I'd also love it if you tap the like button below and subscribe for more lessons and tips for school. Thanks, and see you in the next video.